Доброго дня, шановні колеги. Вітаю в Українському кризовому медіа-центрі. І знову про люстрацію, а саме про формування громадської ради при Міністерстві юстиції у зв'язку з нещодавним підписанням президентом України закону про люстрацію. Закону про люстрацію Єгором Соболєвим, головою громадського люстраційного комітету України.
The topic for press briefing is establishing the Civic Council in the structure of Ukraine's Ministry of Justice in line with the law of Lustration signed by President Pavlo, Petrenko, Ukraine's Minister of Justice, Yegor, head of Civic Lustration Committee. According to the law on purging or lustration, adopted by the Parliament and signed off by President, and we are expecting its publication any day now. There's this clear-cut procedure and mechanism for civic control over purging. As a process, I would like to remind you that all the people who were against this law, representatives of former regime of ex-President Yanukovych, would like to employ a different mechanism for checks and inspections to negate the lustration through courts. You can imagine how it could have been done through the courts on specific individuals. Another option was suggested to create by political forces all sorts of commissions to conduct lustration of different functionaries and officials. The public and the activists presented a very good procedure with automatic or ex officio grounds. And without any appeals, those people will have to be released. For 10 years, they will be deprived of the right to have any positions in the government. There will be also a very important new body controlling lustration. I would like to remind you that according to the law, all the bodies of executive power will be inspected. The procedure is as follows. The competent body will announce the inspection and will be posted on the site of the agency and the Ministry of Justice. The Lustration Commission, they will present their background references and their declarations and their applications. So within 3 days before it starts, the analysis will be done. By the time the analysis will be done, all that information with all the complaints and appeals, if such officials would like to keep some information to themselves or distort some information, and the Ministry of Justice, the new committee will be as an impartial, independent from the state apparatus. It will accept such complaints, process and refer to specific bodies of enforcement and control the objectivity and timeliness of review of such complaints. Practically, this law provides the opportunity to join this process for any member of the general public and whistleblowers and people who suffered from corruption. They can give the red card to any official who is under purging process and fail to present truthful information, one's background and income. So I would like to suggest to Yegor Sobolyev, I want to offer this position to Yegor Sobolyev. It's a civic body, but with very substantial powers, and I would like to say that Yegor should voice the principles and the procedural peculiarities for the body to become operational, fully operational, and gain trust of the public. We have approaches of different civic organizations. I haven't heard about them before, with ultimatums, with demands, with requests for them to be, their representatives to be included on that committee. It is very important to us to have just honest people on that body with the process of lustration not to be discredited. And this is one of the main demands of our citizens at the time of the Revolution of Dignity. And that's what we demanded and achieved with this parliament. As Minister said, it is terribly important that the public is involved in this process of purging. The public should be a locomotive, the engine of this, the driver of this change, for it to be lawful and for it to be operational. And the law that is very important and very demanding in its provisions. We will announce the competition, inviting all the people to join the council or the committee with the reference of career and their qualifications, the grounds for such an offer. This body should be formed of, first of all, journalists and civic activists. So we would like to kindly require that civic activists and journalists who have considerable backgrounds to form this supervisory council that will be in charge of the integrity of all our processes as regards purging. First of all, this should be a spotless reputation. Secondly, it should be considerable experience of combating corruption profile with the actual achievements and the agreement to be subjected to a considerable check. They will check on officials and they should be subject of such inspections themselves. So that will be also posted on our site of Civic Lustration Committee and the Ministry of Justice site. And of course, not all the willing parties will be readily accepted. This is going to be a working body, an operational body, but those people who will not gain the special status, they will still enjoy the status of a citizen of Ukraine.
And there is a big request to you, please get involved into this control without waiting for status, because now people started to collect information about the assets and the way of living of the civil servants. That's great, because one of the main questions is, please explain the origin of your assets and the origin of the assets of those who you live with. That is anti-corruption thing that we have to do. All the citizens who are joining the process, they are doing well, they are giving us great example, and let's take that example. Everyone else has a week to submit applications, and now the criteria that we have mentioned and the emails will be on both websites of our both bodies. Thank you. Yegor, I have the first question. The minister said that this council will have very serious powers. What will be the powers? Allow me to, the minister will explain. First of all, according to the law, which was passed, the functions of this council has been identified. The council can send the requests. The main thing is that the council is the body that gets the statements and the applications from our citizens, and on the basis of these complaints and statements and applications, the council starts inspection and controls that all those statements which are grounded, they should be then reflected in resolution about the lustration of the civil servant. The next part of powers, section of powers, the government has the task within 30 days to draft regulations about the beginning of lustration. because our political position is very clear that the illustration has to start from the first day when the law becomes effective, together with Yegor, together with representatives of the civil society, with the lawyers. We have drafted all these regulations. That's the order of implementing illustration and the time frame for these inspections, and we developed the provisions on the Civil Council, and also the illustration register is another very important instrument. That register is the place where you will be able to get information about any civil servant who was illustrated or wasn't, and via all these powers we do hope that illustration will be implemented quickly and it will be of high quality. And also the illustration inspection, this is for anyone who is the candidate for any position to civil service. And also the members of the Civil Council also have to go through this inspection. I would like to thank Pavlo and via him to the Prime Minister, to the Speaker of the Parliament for their participation and for their important role in preparation and lobbying and in passing that law. Because actually the Minister was the person who said that the government supports the law, and that played very important role, and the law started to be promoted in the Parliament. And also, I would like to request the President of Ukraine to take an example, to use an example the Prime Minister, the Minister, the Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada, talking about the attitude to this law on illustration, because it's really not funny, but until now the administration of the President has not been printed out. The law was signed on Friday, but the administration of the President failed to print it out till today. If they need any help, we are ready to give this assistance, but without any jokes, that's not serious. We request the President to print it out and to start implementing it with the such readiness as the government demonstrates. It depends on the civil servants, on the heads of the state, how the law will be implemented within the first 10 days, because during the first 10 days, all those who automatically fall under illustration are to be dismissed. People who used to be KGB people, those who worked for the government of Yanukovych, they have to be dismissed immediately, and I want all our authorities, the President including, to be doing it first 10 days, because you need to clean the country that you are heading, and the people elected you to head this country. I've been working with the scheme of tax evaluation, and thank you for combating that. Do you believe that the members of the Council, well, you said that the members of the Council should work on voluntary basis. Do you believe that a big section of pensioners, and then one of them, will be able to work as volunteers in the Council? Do you believe that probably people who are in the Council, these should be people who have never before worked in the government? Okay, let's do it this way. Let's get all the applications and we'll select the best ones. Okay, of course, the reputation should be crystal clear. The reputation should be confirmed by what the person has been doing. I want our best journalists, investigators to become members of this council. That would guarantee that they will do what they have. They know the schemes. They've been combating that with over the years, and it's also good for them because that's a very serious status. And so many people in every city tell us that we want to become the members of this public council on lustration. So these should be highly respected people who produce some results, who will continue with all the powers supported by the law to do what they've been doing. They will continue to clean the authorities. I would like to ask this council, will the representatives to this council be elected from, selected from different parts of Ukraine, the journalists and everyone else? How will the regions be represented in the councils? Our proposal is like that. First of all, as we have said, don't wait for any status. That's the law of Ukraine, and it's mandatory for all the citizens of Ukraine. And all the citizens of Ukraine have to get involved into this control. And the procedure is provided for by the law in such a way that every step of lustration is informed to everyone. Please make the website of the Ministry of Justice the most popular one for all of you. There will be the register of lustrated persons there. It is important so that these people do not go back to the council. Then we suggest such a mechanism of forming this council and representatives locally. In Kiev, we need to appoint 13 people who will be selected from the most respected fighters against corruption, from journalism and the civil society. In the regions, there should be also representatives appointed. We want such representatives to be present in every region because corruption is in every region, in every district, and it's important to implement it at a high quality.
There's one very important condition. Consent to appoint such a representative should be received from all the members of the council. Virtually, we make very respectable people members of such the council based on their qualification, their ability to process and to check bodies' information. They can appoint all the others because, unfortunately, let's be frank, a lot has been done by the public, a lot of good things, but there are some fraudsters. There are some people who are under the pretext of purging do actually something that breeds the very essence of what we are trying to fight with corruption, with lustration, with the purging. Vasyl Olinik, representative of Without Fences, the civil movement, and we show how the officials actually live and whether they are prepared to be transparent and seen through the fences around their households. So are you prepared, you, Mr. Petrenko, you, Mr. Sobolyev, to expose your income, your assets? We're prepared to come to you with bread in the best traditions of the Ukrainian culture, and that's question. Yes, we are ready. I can send my behalf, and I think Yegor is going to support me. No questions. You're invited. You're welcome. All the assets are declared from the first day. I am a recent addition to the public service. I used to be a lawyer, practitioner, legal practitioner, and civic activist. I'm prepared to expose myself to that, to be subjected to that. I think this session of the parliament tomorrow is very important with a set of laws. This is disclosure of real property registers. This is our opportunity for the public, for the journalists, for civil activists, not just to chase some officials who are hiding in their estates and change the cars. We can get information from the registers on their property and property of the warm circle. The Ministry of Justice are prepared to do that within a month. And lots of exciting things about property, assets, income, civil servants, MPs, judges, and prosecutors. So it's our joint deed. Their lifestyle is not private. They are public figures, so they have to explain the origin of their vehicle at 1,000 US million worth of a house with the salary that is less than $1,000. So this is private life. This is not private life. If you want to be a private person, you should stay in the private sector. I would like to join in this answer. I have already received you in my flat, and to the second house you're invited. There's no fence. I haven't erected it yet, but after the election, I'm not readily available at this point. Rikutnikov can inform whether there will be. I would like to ask whether there will be any rule of procedure documents posted on your site. I understand that we have scores of thousands of functionaries to be checked, maybe more than 100,000. What will be the composition? 13 people I heard from you. Perhaps we have to also unfold some such branches and outlets in the field, oblasts and districts that will be immediately published after the publication of the law, and it's coming into force. Now, secondly, on the senior official, there's this priority list, and we will start it on the very first day of its come into effect. The central agencies, ministries, agencies, enforcement bodies, then the regional level, then the district level, because we have to start from the head, and lustration should start from the highest offices, and this is the right approach for lustration. First of all, not to be like, everyone is checked at the same time, and many people can escape actual purging. All this order, all the procedure is in specific regulations that will be issued by the ministries and the agencies. The Prime Minister already announced that there's a pile of applications. People want to be released on their own accord. And I would like to explain that if you resign, still, you cannot come back to the service within 10 years. You'll be checked, and this is a binding provision of the law. We are very grateful to the authors of the law for them uncompromising norms, and that will be high-quality purging for the state apparatus. Indeed, all the dismissals and all the changes will be announced publicly. Another very important point, the Civil Council won't do the purging. It will be done by the state. That will be the governmental decision to dismiss and to prevent from coming back for some years. Based on the position of the minister, considering the access to databases, the responsibility rests with the coordination body, which is Ministry of Justice. Here's the procedure. Number one, all the people in charge should comply with the law. People who send in their resignation will be still checked and their property inspected. So this is a mechanism of civic control that is extremely important and is decisive, but control over lustration of civil service. It's not like journalists or civic activists are running around with the notices that you are under purging, you're purged. No. That will be with inclusion on the register of purged people. That will also be promulgated on the site of the Ministry of Justice. This will be an exciting page. Yaroslav Didenko, Kievans together, and I've been recently elected as council of the Kiev Council.
I would like to thank you, Yegor, for your work. That's a great contribution into our future. The question is, that is not just my opinion. Many people who are just like you, like myself, have been at Maidan from the 21st of November and will participate in the elections. Most of us will be not with the parties. You remember how we were combating the falsifiers of the previous elections. Unfortunately, when the law was drafted, there was no responsibility included into that law about those citizens who are counting the votes of people, those who falsified the elections. I would like to inform you, unfortunately, that now in the constituency commissions and district commissions, there are same people, especially in Kiev. You know this story and how myself and Yegor were opposing the previous authorities who were the so-called young team. All these representatives are still in the commissions, and they will be counting the votes of Kievites, and there will be again falsifications. My question is to you authorities, why these people again get into these commissions? Why have not they been punished? We have the resolution of the court. There was one fact of falsification registered, and so my request is, please use all possible measures to make impossible for such falsifiers to get again into the commissions. I will answer your question as the representative of the government, as the Minister of Justice. I will remind you, the members of the commissions are formed by political parties. If the political party includes year after year people who have such a negative history, then my proposal is make it public which parties every year give such jobs to these former migrants. And this should be the political responsibility. As to violations, our legislation on election process is the strongest, one of the strongest in the world, talking about the responsibility, the term of imprisonment for violations during elections. I do hope that tomorrow there will be another historic law be passed. The Verkhovna Rada may become part of history. Tomorrow there will be the law on prosecutor's office considered, and the materials, the facts which will be fixed during the elections you will have to submit to the Ministry of Justice, and the position of the minister is very strict. Everyone who violates the legislation will be responsible, as well as this is to be submitted to the prosecutor's office. Let's get united. It's common responsibility of both political parties and the law enforcement bodies. Please announce which parties are doing that. Then the last question, because we don't have any more time left. Independent journalist, a very brief question. It was about lustration of law enforcement blog, but now on TV they are discussing that all the persons in the law enforcement blog who participated in ATO, they are considered to be those who have already been approved by lustration process, so to say, and or have been justified. And now hundreds of them go to the ATO zone. So first, this is the norm of the law. All those people who are participants of the warfare in this ATO, which is basically war for independence, we know that perfectly well. They freed from lustration. That norm was included in May when Omega, Yegor, and part of Alpha units were the first ones who went who joined the armed forces when there were no volunteers and our armed forces were demoralized. And I will not agree to remove this norm or to amend this norm. Those people who went to risk their lives and because of them we now can have these peaceful press conferences and we can peacefully draft the laws. They are our heroes, and whatever they were doing at Maidan, they washed that out by the blood there in ATO. But of course, there could be some people who will get just the status of ATO. That requires a lot of attention, not just based on the law, but based on the morals on our duty. And because there are people, many people who shed their blood, who some of them did not return back, and that is why the society has to control this process of providing the status of participant of ATO. This information should be open, even just for us to be able to commemorate these people. But if the person went to some checkpoint near Kharkov, that wouldn't be considered to be the participant of ATO. And that was the philosophy of setting up the special body on veterans of ATO. There will be a commission which will include both the civil society, the veterans, the representatives of the armed forces, of the National Guard and the security service, and the decisions of such commission will be made public. I'd like to warn any civil servant who just wants to get some type of a certificate. This certificate will not save him from lustration or the angriness of those people who were really there, who were shedding their blood. And that's a bad way to avoid lustration, especially because all this information will be made public, and I don't think that there will be many people who will be trying to do that, but there might be such facts. Then this is for you, for journalists to follow that, and this information is open, who participated in which battles. Thank you, and thank you, Mr.